Hi everybody, this is the Flat Cap Cafe Racer. I don't have my flat cap on today, I have my Royal Enfield cap on. I'm going to do some maintenance on my Royal Enfield 500 and I'll like you to join me and see how it goes. Stay tuned.
Meerkat.
I generally don't do a lot of maintenance on my videos on the maintenance I do on my bikes because there are a lot of people out there that do a really good job at it and I don't know that I'm one of them. But today I'm going to do that. If you want to watch some of the guys that really impress the heck out of me with what they do, you have to watch some of the channels in India, especially on the Royal Enfields. What those guys can do with just a few tools in a little time, it's just outstanding. But here's my go at it. Since at 4,600 miles, since this is not a required maintenance, this is something I'm doing because it's been a year or two since I've changed the oil on this bike. So I'm going to kind of split the difference between the 3,750 mile and a 6,000. So this is just a good checklist for me to remember what to do. But some of this stuff I did not too long ago. Okay, got her up on the motorcycle stand. I try to clean the motorcycle stand off and get all the loose stuff out and any kind of liquids were on it before. So when I'm working on it, if I happen to drop something, which I always do, it's easier to find. And if there's something leaking, then I know the leak came from what I was working on, not from where it was previously for something else I did. Basically here, I get what I need. It takes, according to the book, it's like 2.5 liters, but I've never got more like 2.2 liters in it. So I've got that. I've got some WD-40 for silicone for the spray on some of the pivot points. I've got the 19, 12, and 8 millimeter sockets I need to remove everything. Got the oil filter, the funnel, and I've got the little rubber, and I got crush washers and little rubber washers as needed. So I got that all laid out, and I got my pan for underneath. So I'll warm the bike up pretty good before I start doing the oil change. Now that I've had the motorcycle running for a few minutes and got it nice and warm, it's time to get started. What I found with the Royal Enfield is there's two drain sumps here that you have to drain when you drain the oil. This is the top one, and it's separated. There's a little baffle in there. And this is the back one. So you need to do both. And the problem I have is when you're on a center stand like I am right now, I can get this one better, but it tends to leave a little oil in up front. So what I'll do is I'll put it on my motorcycle stand and just keep it level so it'll help me drain this a little bit better. This is also a piece that has to be removed. There's a little screen in here. Then the oil filter is right in here. Okay, I think we're going to start with the front drain plug. It's a 12 millimeter up here in the front. I think it doesn't really make a lot of difference which one you start with, but since you got two of them, I'm going to start with the front one because I think it seems to drain out just a little bit better when I start with the front one. That doesn't look too bad, does it? I'll use a little tray to put my bolts and nuts and stuff in. If you do that, if you have a tendency to lose them, which I do. Now we're going to go to the 19. Let's take a look at this drain plug and see it's a magnetic drain plug and see what we have on it. Don't feel any medical particles or anything. By the way, when I started with this, I made sure my drain, my oil pan here was clean. So if I want to go prospecting for anything in it, metal shavings or anything like that, I know it came from this oil change, not some previous oil change. This one has a little, if you can see that this one has a little crush washer on it. Surprised that the first one didn't. I don't remember it not having one. So one of the things you want to do here on this, I prefer to let these out first and let them start draining, and it keeps such a big mess from coming out here. So now we're going to remove, there's a screen in there. We're going to take that screen out, and usually there's something on that screen particle wise. There has been in the past. It's not that unusual. These nuts aren't very done up very tight, and I think Royal Enfield's doing a little bit better job on the quality of their fasteners now. But in 2017, when this bike was made, they still weren't real great, so it's pretty easy to strip out a fastener, so you have to be pretty careful with it. Alright, here we go. So you can see that there's a little glob. It almost seems like it's rubber. That's not metal. So you can see there's just a little bit of a grime on this. Not bad at all. I'll make sure that's off. And I may replace this rubber piece in here. I do have a replacement for it to keep it from leaking. It was not leaking before. You have to be careful with these screens that you don't do anything to tear them. I don't think there's a one way or another that it goes up this way or that way. But I'm going to put it back the way it came. So it's this one. On the oil filter, when I take that out, there'll be a little leaking down here. I think that one container will do it. On this oil filter, these three things are just like a little spring that kind of pushes that out. You see that washer just drop down in there? Little rubber washer. This one here is what popped out. It was behind, right in here. So we'll fish this out. Another little rubber washer in there. Now, I think sometimes people replace, but I really haven't been doing that. I'll show you. Let's see if I can get a better picture of that. I think you can see that little rubber washer back there. So there's one behind the oil filter and one in front of the oil filter. What I'm going to do is take the new oil filter and let it soak for a little bit. I just pour a little oil in there and it covers it and let it soak just a little bit. Here, I'll fish this one out. Okay. This was on the inside of that. This is on the outside. So I have two here, replacements. Oil on them, push them back in. I have them. I don't normally replace all of them most of the time, But this is the 5th oil change on this bike, so I'm going to go ahead and push that back in there. As long as you get it in there pretty good, it will seat itself with the oil filter. So we'll put the other one on in just a minute. Yep, that looks like it'll work. So we'll just fish this one out. Get this one started. Got the oil drained out. It's just finishing up a little bit. So what I can do here is, when I took this piece off, the crush washer was stuck underneath there. So it did not go down into the drain pan. It was stuck underneath. So I got that one off. I'll replace that with a new one. I'm going to take the drain plug crush washer off here. I'm going to replace it with a new one here. And I've replaced the rubber O-ring here. We've cleaned the surface here, so now we can slide this back into the bottom of the engine here, as soon as I can get a little room to maneuver. I'm going to wipe all the oil that's dripping underneath these drain plugs. It's been dripping, and we'll wipe it off pretty nice. Well, we've got the 3 drain plugs back on. I got another O-ring here we're going to put on. New O-ring we're going to put on. You have to put the filter back in right here. So this O-ring will go in after the filter. So we'll fish the filter out of here. It's been soaking pretty good. I'll let it stay in it. Push that in. There's an O-ring that goes right behind there. Apply pressure to these mounting bolts here to kind of push that in. Get all 3 of them started. Get it off the case and the pipe and brake lever, and we'll tighten it up just a little bit. Okay. Just pick up that little bit of oil that I spat on the ground on the lift here. Like I said, it takes about 2.1, 2.2 liters most of the time. So we can feel pretty good about doing the first 1.5 liters in here without having to worry about checking it. We got our sight glass right here, and it's supposed to be between the, I did try to get it up to the top of the sight glass. So, the funnel, we'll start with our first one. unopened. You can see how it came up pretty fast. So we'll leave it right there, let that settle down. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start the bike. I'm going to do a couple reasons. I'm going to let this circulate just a little bit and pump it around. Then also going to check for any kind of leaks underneath. As you can see, as soon as we started it up, that side glass went down to below the load level, which it should. I think we can safely go to 2 liters without having to worry about overfilling it too much. I don't know that I'm going to put any more in it right now. I may let it sit overnight and we'll check it again. So that's the oil change and filter for right now. Went pretty good, I guess. Not any problems. A book on each one of the motorcycles I have, so everything's been done to it. Either I've done to it or dealer has done to it. Anything is broken, anything's been replaced, I keep it in a book. You can see there I've got the R9T and the Tiger and the Thruxton R right there, and some of my older ones that I kept books on through the years. It's a lot easier. It gives me, lets me kind of spread the maintenance out just a little bit better when I'm understanding whatever has to be done and when it has to be done, say in tires and things. So, like for instance, I got some brand new tires for my Thruxton R right here. I got some Michelin Road 6s I'll be putting on a little bit later this year. But I kind of buy them when they're available and I have the money, then I can kind of put them on, kind of spray everything out so everything's not together. By the way, when I sell the motorcycles to people, I usually will offer them at least the contents or copies of the contents of the books. Well, thanks for sticking around. Hopefully I'll get a little bit better at this and a little bit quicker and more efficient. Join me and my friends at Flat Cap Cafe Racer for riding and racing. Please subscribe.